Ready?
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. We have another very special guest today. It is the 2012 WSOP main event champion. Yes, the main event, not just a bracelet winner, although he did win 2 in that main event. It is Greg Merson. How are you, Greg?
Hey, man. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's great to chat. As we were saying, it's been a few years, although we've gone back for a decade or so. And, you know, it's amazing being, I know you're a father. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Married. We share that, which is obviously, as you know, with this age, like 2.5, 3-year-olds, it's intense. I think you just welcomed your second. So yeah, big congrats to you. What have you been up to? I know, again, poker, people know you from poker, but what have you been sort of focusing on in the past couple of years?
So I'm still playing full time. I'm just playing online mostly the past like 5 or 6 years. I stopped traveling for tournaments like the beginning of 2016 and started focusing on just playing online cash and like having a healthier lifestyle of not being on the road as much. Like being on the road for me was always really unhealthy in terms of like jet lag and always getting sick and putting on weight and not working out consistently and not eating well, whatever. So yeah, it's just nice to be in a routine. But I will say that I've been itching to get back to playing some more events and like getting off the computer, getting some breaks from the grind. But yeah, these days I play 4 days a week, about like 25, 30 hours a week. And yeah, like nothing too crazy.
I got to ask you, as someone who has experienced the high of the highs in poker, you won the main event in 2012. You won Player of the Year. You're talking about $8 million+ from $10,000. You had the success. How is it for you to kind of transition and then just go back to, okay, I'm going to play 20, 30 hours a week online? You know, it's not like huge nosebleed staying games going generally, or like you're in New Jersey. Like, how do you sort of cope with that? Like, is it hard for you sometimes to feel excited, or is it just the path of the game and like you try to do your best for what is at hand? Have you struggled with that, or is that just something that you were easy to shift and transition into playing for, you know, whatever stakes and trying to make a positive return?
Sure, yeah. No, I've struggled with it for the online tournaments forever, and it's kind of why I've never really been that into them, because I've just found them to be very time consuming, much tougher than the live tournaments, and then with way less money up top generally. So like it's hard to be very stimulated when it's like, you know, back in the day, even like the Sunday Million is like 200K for first, but one like I once you've made final tables with like 7 figures up top, it just spoils you. And back then I was playing 10Ks and 25Ks when they were much softer. So like the thought of playing some of the smaller stuff or less prestigious stuff, even like 1,500 WSOP events, I would always skip those. And these days it's like mandatory to play that low if you're going to play tournaments. So I guess, yeah, for online cash, because I started my career with online cash, I've always had like a lot of respect for it, and it's never felt like too small for me. So like I can still play down to 200, no limit. Like I don't play a lot of volume there, but if games aren't great and I can just load up a bunch of 200 and play some PLO as well, like if the mid and high stakes no limit isn't that good, I still like really love yeah, like all the games, all the stakes. Yeah, I don't know, I love poker, man. Like I was just telling a good friend of mine last week that like if I could make twice as much money per year doing crypto or trading and traditional finance, I would choose poker any day. I mean, like
That's an interesting concept and question. I wonder what the actual calibration would be.
So everyone has a number, right?
Right.
Maybe if you're giving me like 20 million a year instead of 10 million, like, or whatever, like at some point it's going to be like, okay, I'm not going to play poker, but I really just love playing. I love what it does for my mind. I love that it keeps me sober. I love that it keeps me motivated to like live a healthy lifestyle. And yeah, like I don't see myself ever stopping.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with that. And would you say, is that one of the biggest things that poker does in terms of keeping you active, keeping your mind sharp? Is that something you do believe you'll play kind of forever? No, whether it's a new form of poker or a variation, do you believe you'll play pretty much for your entire life?
Yeah, so I always knew that like later in my career I'd want to start learning some more games. So like 5 years ago I started learning PLO, and then about 18 months ago I started playing PLO 8, and then a few months ago I started dabbling a little bit in HOE, Just trying to be able to be like somewhat decent enough to play these WSOP events and not just be completely torching it. Like I want to feel like I have a chance to win. Like I doubt I'm actually like a winning player, but it's a tournament, so I can glory chase. So
Listen, PLO8, you'd be surprised. I've heard this for years. It's such a valuable tournament to play at the WSOP, the 10K one. And I would just say, like, it's funny because when you don't know the game, you actually don't really know, right? Like some things may appear bad and you're like, oh, maybe that's actually a good player. They're doing something right. But like there's some very obviously incorrect things happening. I think people just kind of splashing around and the field size is good. So yeah, I think that game's really fun and fun to play. Tournament variation of that.
Yeah, so I've never played a tournament. Like I've just been playing cash games. Even like PLO events at the series, I don't even think I've played 5 lifetime, but I'll get in there and play. It'll be fun.
And how would you describe yourself, your kind of history of your game and as a poker player? Because I know Tony Gregg, one of your closest friends. I got a lot of respect for that guy. We in Maryland, we also kind of would know each other and hang out some, and watching what he did and how he's progressed, and just one of the sharpest minds, best players, and sort of like associate you two as a crew together. And obviously, you guys have done well at the World Series, but your cash game is a background, I would say, stronger. Although you've had such great tournament accolades, how do you define yourself and Tony? How would you say you guys are as players? Like, are you tournament or cash game players or both?
I mean, he always loved playing tournaments, even though he was a really good cash player and also came from a cash background. He just loved playing tournaments. So I never had the same love as him for, like, he would play online tournaments and stuff. And I don't know, I never really got into it like he did, but he's like world class and much better poker player than me. Like I've had to work really, really hard. Not that he didn't work hard too. I just think he's like infinitely more talented than me. And like, even though he barely plays poker anymore, I would probably take him over me in just about any lineup or format of No Limit Hold'em. Like he's just so good. So yeah, I mean, he's like complete legend. It was awesome to travel the world with him and talk poker with him. And I definitely miss having him around, like in the scene. Cause I know he mostly just, like manages his own funds these days and does some, traditional finance trading. He plays some mixed games now. So he's still around, but I'll see him in Vegas, and yeah, I mean, just complete crusher, man. Like I've always said that if he wanted to be the best player in the world, he could have done it, because he was already there like multiple times throughout his career. But he's such a like silent killer. Kind of reminded me a lot of like David Peters has always been really elite, but just because of his demeanor at the table, just like he's not very talkative. He's not doing a lot of interviews, stuff like that. So D Peters, unless you were like in the know, was kind of under the radar for a while, and now considered like top 3, top 5 in the world. But Tony also had the ability to crush the high stakes cash games as well, and there's so few people that can do both. Like maybe Ali Imserovich is one of them, or Jake Schindler, or Jason Kuhn. Like there's few guys that can do both, because they're such different skill sets.
I saw Doug Polk talking about the top 100 players and putting names. I think your name was put in the conversation. I think you instantly were mentioning Tony, because exactly your point. Like he's just kind of under the radar, but definitely anyone who knows poker, has played with him, is you don't want to see that guy at your table. You just know he's not giving anything away, and he's going to put you in the blender in a bunch of spots. But yeah. So would you say, if you could choose one, what would you say is more? What would you say Greg Merson is known for? I mean, it's kind of hard because he won the main event, so you're sort of automatically put in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more known for that, but like my whole career has been based around playing online cash. So that's kind of like the lens that I view myself through. And like I kind of always struggled with how many of these tournaments should I really play as more people start specializing in them, and I'm not as interested as like studying the spots and putting in the volume. And I'm like giving up some EV deep in the tournament when the stacks get short. So, yeah, I just got to a point where I wanted to just focus on one thing, and yeah, it's just always going to be online cash for me. Like it's tough these days. It's tough to do like different variants and be very elite at them, right? Because I kind of always have separated online cash, online tournaments, live cash, live tournaments. Like all 4 of them. I mean, we're playing the same game, right? But they're all so different. and there's people that specialize in each format. So I used to do all four of those. I think I did it at a high level, but once people started becoming like super dialed in on one subset, it became pretty tough to be much of a crusher in any one of them when you're like bouncing around all of them.
I love how you put that, because I haven't really thought of it like that, but it's so true, because they are completely different, although very similar. What would you say if someone at home is watching and they're like, you know what, this is poker's amazing, I love it, but I can't really decide. I like kind of playing cash. I like tournaments. I have access to a good place to play live, but I also, I can play at home on sites. Obviously, there's different options, different regions. What would be your advice to someone getting into poker to kind of break into, just, if it's you don't know anything about them or their skill sets for poker, what do you think is the easiest way to become profitable or break into the scene?
I've always just recommended people play online cash, because you can play really low and you can get a lot of reps in without, like if you're a losing player, you can go play really low, not lose too much, start improving, hopefully eventually start winning, move up. I mean, it's tough with the rake at lower stakes to build a bankroll these days, but it's still just such a good place to practice, and then maybe utilize some of those skills in your weekly home game or your local casino 1-2 or 2-5 game. So they're like the amount of experience that you can get online is just like it's just insane. I mean, it's like at the higher end, it doesn't matter as much anymore because the live cash players can just study off the table, whereas before they weren't able to do that. So there used to be like a huge gap between the live 10-20 player and like the online 2-5 player. Like the online player is just so much better, but now that live 10-20 player can study and run stuff that they couldn't do before. So like the reps aren't as important now. But yeah, if you're like just starting out, I would always recommend starting online.
And do you see a threat to poker for live ever? Because, we see this kind of dichotomy of people that are, it's like in some respects, there's all the information's there, right? But how do people process information? Even then, there's still so many unique spots and people can exploit in their situation. So how do you sort of think about, let's just take 10-20 live, right? At going to a casino, like, do you think that's in jeopardy in the next decade, two or the future? Or will there always just be people that love to play, they're recreational, and they'll be people there, whatever, and then there's still that combination of luck and skill, and the game will just always be around?
Yeah, no, I think live poker is here to stay, and I've been telling close friends for the past 5 years or so that live poker is clearly the future. There's a lot of things not going in the right direction for online. Like it's hard to know how long it can be sustained. But live poker is definitely the future, and if you don't like playing live poker, then you should think about what you want to do possibly in the next like 10, 15, 20 years. Like it's hard to say. Like if you asked me in 2013, 14, if I would still be playing online cash right now, I would have said I was a favorite to not be around doing it. So yeah, I mean, luckily the US regulated online and it gave me a chance to play in like a better market than the rest of the world. But yeah, like, I mean, when the solvers came out, I went from beating 10-20 and 25-50 on stars to like breaking even in the Zoom 2-5 games over like a year period. So it just was a huge shift in like what you needed to do in order to win. And I'm not sure if I would have wanted to put in all that work for like not that much reward.
Right. Yeah, it definitely, the landscape has changed. And what is the thing that's going to get you back? Was it just timing to go to the main event or to the WSOP this year? You plan to go, and was that, you said your daughter, you had some, the children and all that. Would you have been at the WSOP the past few years, or was that the main reason why?
So yeah, I mean, I obviously 2020 was canceled. I played the online main event, I cashed in it, and then 2021. Well, let me go back. 19, I only went for the main event. 18 was my last full summer there. So okay. 19, I just played the main and like a 1 or 2 side events, and then 20 online event. 21 skipped the entire thing for my daughter's birth, and then now I finally feel like I'm ready to get out there. I don't think I could really do the whole thing, but I definitely think I'm good for like 3 to 5 weeks a summer for the next like 5 years as my kids are younger, and really just like, I think I can give good output performance energy and stuff for 3 to 5 week stretch, and 7 weeks is like a bit much. I'm not like a sick animal to be able to just do like 70 hours a week potentially for 7 weeks.
And are you excited about the new venue? Do you think it was time for a change? Obviously nostalgic for you winning 2 bracelets, the main event there, but is it like, all right, do you kind of feel just comfortable because you can win there and you've done it and all that, or do you not think about this stuff? You're just like, all right, it's cool, new venue, it'll be fun. Let's go somewhere new and play.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just feel comfortable in Vegas in general, so it doesn't really matter where I'm playing. I've played all over the place, like some private games at random casinos like Mirage and stuff, and then a lot at Aria, a lot at Bellagio, a little bit at Encore. So like really any room, I'm going to feel comfortable in Vegas. I mean, I'm hoping it's a better experience because like the Rio wasn't really all that great. Most people would agree, but it definitely was easy to get to. So, I mean, maybe people won't be as excited if there's a lot of traffic. I mean, that's yet to be seen, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be fun. I think it was time. It was time for a change.
Yeah.
What is tell me about the 2012 WSOP. What kind of was working, or maybe even different, or do you remember, was there anything energetically or routine wise, or just like you were studying, or some new concepts or leaks or things you plug? Like, was there anything different than that main event than any others, or just the nature of tournaments and that you got to run good, you got to get the right situations, tables, all that? How would you sum up your main event win?
I definitely ran like crazy hot, obviously, but it was like kind of the perfect storm because I got sober the end of 2011. I went back to Toronto and I was just playing. Like I was on the sickest schedule ever, where I was just playing nonstop, like no very little social life, just hang out with my roommate and a couple of other poker players, just all in poker. I started playing 1-2. By May, I was playing 10-20 again. I was winning like 200 online in the first 5 months, like playing in the rest of the world field, which is like still to this day would be really good. And I just felt like really locked in. And then I had, even though I wasn't playing tournaments, like a lot of my friends at the time were playing. Like Chewy was playing a bunch. I hung out with him a lot. Obviously Tony was playing a lot of these tournaments. Christian, Harder. So like I would hear hand histories from them all the time in these events. And especially like that summer living with Tony and Christian, always hearing spots, talking about these tournament spots. And then when I'd show up to play an event, I was kind of like an unknown to the tournament guys. And I felt like I had like an idea of what was going on and how I could exploit like the metagame back then without people having like any idea how I played. So I definitely was able to just like over bluff everyone. And really just like run stuff that wouldn't get through these days because people just will look you up. So, I mean, that was definitely a huge advantage. I also think that like back then people were raising really small, 3-betting really small, 4-betting really small. And like, I just didn't really fold because you're not really supposed to. And I guess back then people folded too much pre-flop and post-flop. So like you were just rewarded for being an animal.
Right.
So I definitely was like just blasting too.
Let me ask you, like, so you go to the WSOP this year and you know that there's a lot of new information. There's some great players out there. Obviously you talk about like 8,000 person field or such, and a 10K, there's value in it. And you have gotten that value. You've already you've done a lifetime's work there, right? No matter what happens in the World Series, you've done very well. But how does that mentally to go in and be like, look, there's so many people, like you said, you can't really just do what you used to do. You can't just run stuff over. People have changed. The average player's gotten better. How does that kind of factor in, like realistically to like win a tournament or to be very profitable? How do you kind of approach that mentally with the game being, because like, let's say in 2012, how big a favorite you were versus the field in general, right? You're just probably like night and day better than people. And now it's tightened up. How do you kind of calibrate that in terms of mentality on when you go and approach these things now?
Yeah, I mean, like the ROIs have compressed for sure. And that's like another reason that pushed me away from tournaments. It's like I used to get a lot of volume in from like not necessarily volume in terms of events, but like a lot of volume in terms of like capital. Because like the events were bigger and I felt like the edge was pretty big. So being able to get down 10 or 25K in an event where I thought my ROI was pretty high, whereas now like ROIs are going down and buy-ins are going down, so it's kind of like the worst of both situations. And for me personally, like I just want to play these events for fun, and like I don't care how much I'm winning in them, or in certain events like these other games, if I'm losing them, I don't really care. Like I'm just there to chase the glory, and like try to like build on the legacy a bit more, because like I definitely tried to win a third bracelet in 14, 15, 16, and then I guess I was feeling like my edge and the use of my time wasn't really as worth it. So I kind of put it on the back burner and wanted to just like make as much money as I could. And now I feel ready to get back in there.
Yeah. So 2012 Six Max, one of the more prestigious tournaments, and yours was for over $1 million. You took it down, and we were talking before the pod. I remember losing a flip like eights to ace queen. I don't even remember who had what. It was right before the money, and then
Pretty sure I had ace queen.
Yeah. Okay. So like this flip situation, how do you sort of, how do you, this is something I always find interesting with top players, because the mentality side of flips and running good, or 4-1 holds, or ace king to ace queen, situations and holding. How do you sort of, have you noticed sort of mentally becoming tougher, or does it, like, you still feel tilt or some sort of negative feeling when things happen? Or are you like Buddhist mindset to the point where you understand, like, look, the game isn't won and lost, ace king to ace queen, or eights to ace queen, right? That's like that. Those hands kind of play themselves, and the luck of that happens. It's small blind, big blind. It's raising spots other people are, and it's finding 3-bets. It's making all the other things of the game. How because I think so many people struggle with this part of poker, the luck part that you just can't control. So how do you sort of like, how are you able to just be at peace with that and understand variance? Because it's crazy, right? You play more poker than most, so especially in cash games and stuff, when you're playing a lot of, in a session in a day, because it could be a week, you might get more hands in a day than some do in a month or two. So like your experience, these like runs of like Sun Run and just losing everyone, how do you kind of like, what do you talk me through that? Because I just still to this day find it hard for people to put that in perspective, how variance works.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was harder to deal with back in the day. There was more variance back around Black Friday, a little bit after Black Friday, because there was so much pre-flop action that people were getting it in in these no limit cash games all the time, like nines versus ace queen, like just you were just getting it in all the time. So like your standard deviation was just like much different than it is now. Like people don't really get it all in anymore. So the variance in no limit specifically is like a joke from cash game standpoint. I mean, I have swings because I play variable stakes. So like if I get stacked at 5K NL and the game breaks, and then there's like 3 tables of 2-5 running, and I'm playing those, it's like that's the type of mental game you need to play in a small pool where there's variable stakes if you want to get volume in. So you have to deal with stuff like that. But I would say like I never had, like, I thought my mental game was decent most of my career, but it definitely wasn't like this strong point of mine. And especially like being such good friends with Tony, I've always thought that he was world class with that stuff. And when I guess it was 2018, I reached out to Elliot Rose, partner Dan Haskett, and I worked with him for like 6 or 7 sessions. And this dude just like changed my life. I mean, it was just incredible. He does hypnotherapy coaching. So I did that. And then at the same time, I had started playing PLO like recently before that. And once you start playing PLO, and you just have to like surrender to the gods, right? Like there's going to be times where there's a guy playing 100% of hands that just runs up a 10x stack and is just crushing you, and you want to like punch the screen, but there's nothing you can do. And like that doesn't really happen in no limit. So that happens all the time in PLO, and it just makes you like so much stronger mentally with swings. I played some heads up matches in PLO where I was like winning and losing 20,000 in a match versus this guy. We played 10-25 for like several sessions, and I mean, it definitely like made me a lot stronger. And now like finally as a parent, like I think that has like really put the icing on the cake when it comes to like mental game. I just feel like so happy to be playing poker that even if I'm getting my shit kicked in, I'm just playing poker and like the money doesn't matter. So it's just one long game, and I can finally like say that and mean it. I think a lot of people say that and they don't mean it. Um, I have always had a problem with that when I play live cash. I find that like I care about individual losing sessions too much in live cash, but like tournaments, if I bust, no problem. Online cash, if I have a losing day or losing week, no problem.
It's funny you say that with the mental. I mean, the mental side. I agree. I've worked with Elliot Rowe. I've gone to some of his courses. I've worked with some other because I think people always. It's not. It's like there's so many different ways. Courses, things you can do, people you can talk to, habits you can put in place. It's just important to be doing something that you also make you aware. I think awareness is a big part because if you're aware, like however that you become to awareness, sometimes it's just talking out loud, to someone and or thinking about it. It's just a whole different level of understanding because like 90% of people I think who tilt or have a tough time processing these things just aren't aware. Like if they were, they would be like, wow, that's pretty silly. Or like
I think there's like another form of tilt that doesn't get talked about enough where like that you're on tilt and you don't want anyone to know or see that you're on tilt, so you start playing like overly tight and like trying to show you're like lying to yourself by showing this discipline when really you're just like avoiding spots. Like you don't want to get back in there right away, which I would say is much better strategy than actually going on tilt itself. But like as soon as you start to deviate from like your normal game plan because you're losing, it's like a form of tilt. So
yeah, that's man, it's so crazy because also like I think sometimes results oriented is such a big thing that something happens or you try something or like I've personally never been a guy that's like usually the one in tournaments, right? From playing with me or probably your friend groups like in the past especially, right? Like I'm really want to cash or like I don't want whatever. But then like an example with the spot where like you have eights to ace queen for like that's like a 10K six max right before the money, a big spot, right?
Yeah.
And the my core who I am, it's like I want to just fold. I wouldn't want to like push the edge or I can't remember who was first in or not. It matters. All these things. Like I don't remember if it was 20 blinds or 50 blinds or whatever it was, right? Like it's like when those kind of experiences happen on any level, whether it's say it's a Sunday Million or a $500 online or a 100 or you satellite in, it's like if you do the right play and you're okay with the outcome, it's one thing. But if you do something and then you feel that immediate like bubble or pain, right? Yeah. It's like that could mess you up for a while. I've done embarrassing things. Like I remember folding in a 1500 in the WSOP, whatever. I folded like kings with like 9 or 10 blinds with like one off the money in a spot where, even like first in or something with like and like something ridiculous. But like for me, it's like, I know mentally I need to cash, I can't like bubble in a spot. Like I bubbled the tournament, the 3K six max with aces all in Prius WSOP. And like most people and some people just say, oh, whatever, I don't care. Like I actually care, like that like that's fucking, that hurts me.
Yeah.
Like, don't bubble a tournament that I played for a day or a day and a half or whatever. Even I think it was just a one day. But like going home, I know mentally, like if I had not had it, granted, I'm gonna have a way better chance to double or need those chips, even if I'm short, to have a better chance to win. But if I just fold it, like I can't. Listen, I'm tight, but I'm not folding aces first in on the stone bubble. But like that, I make top set, guy makes a flush, and I'm sitting there talking to myself on my vlog camera, and I go home and it's 2 a.m, and that shit's not fun. Like it's just not. So like, but anyway, like, yeah, I just, it's a big mental side of this. And I think that many people struggle. And I think that that's a big lesson because if you're results oriented in certain spots, it could really do a lot of harm, right? It's similar like bet sizing in poker. If you're betting 56% instead of 80% or 70% in these spots, like that happen all the time, right? You're just like losing so much money, right? Over the course of like a year of your life. And this is, I think, a big thing that happens where people get scared or gun shy in spots, or you're chip leader, right? And you start like, you make like a huge shove, you run in the top of the range, and then all of a sudden you're like short or medium stack, and it's like, wow, I didn't need to do that, but really you're supposed to do that. So I just think that's why poker is fascinating. And it's not for everyone. It's not for
you have to be like a really sick fuck to play tournaments full time though, because you're like constantly dealing with this stuff.
Yeah.
And like for me, I've always found it easy to not tilt in tournaments because like if you're getting crushed, like the pain is short, right? Like if you're getting crushed, you're gonna bust. If you're getting crushed in a really good cash game, let's say a private cash game where it's like the dream spot and you're getting crushed and the game runs for 30 hours, like you're not leaving and you're just dealing with like getting murdered in the best game ever, and you have to sit there and deal with that. In a tournament, like if you're running bad, you're just out. Or if you lose a big pot deep in a tournament and you're short, like the blinds keep going up and the pain is short-lived and you either run it back up or, you know, it's like easy. It's always been easier for me to deal with the variance in tournaments, but it's easy for me to say that since I've like run good too. But even before that, even before like the success, I kind of always felt like that when I played them. It's like I wasn't playing them for a living. I'm playing them as like a form of income, but just also for fun and a shot to like win a large sum of money. And then if I don't cash, it doesn't really affect my day-to-day grind. So like the guys that play full-time tournaments and need to cash because it's their livelihood, you know, and they need to like ladder up at the final table because it's the difference in their income for the year. That's I think that's always been like a big benefit of mine, where I can just like not really care so much about ICM and really like go for it. So yeah.
That's for sure. I think it's definitely a powerful thing. Let me run through your Hendon mob here, which is pretty crazy because this is, I swear, it's the wildest thing I noticed. I got to do a study on this. I would see all poker players are still around, but I think 98% of people on my podcast have final tabled their first ever Hendon mob score, which is impossible, right? If you think about it. So you actually won, not even just like final table, but you know, maybe you played another one, right? Or something you didn't cash, but your first cash. Is this your first ever live tournament, or did you play?
No, I had definitely played tournaments there. This was just my first cash, but this, yeah, I'm glad you pulled this up. So Chewy was there, and so was Phil Collins. I don't know why he's listed as David Collins, but yeah.
Interesting. I remember that. I bet that once in New York. So what happened? What brought you to this 2007 right after Thanksgiving? It looks like what brought you to Turning Stone for a $200 tournament? Or were you playing cash and just hopped in?
So that's actually right after I dropped out of school and started playing full time.
Okay.
So I would always go up there, and I remember starting to play. That was a really big trip for me because I was staked at the time for tournaments, but I was playing cash on my own, and I started playing 1-2 on stars and was playing like 6 tables at the time. And I remember playing a lot on that trip in the room, and then it's really like when my career started to take off, and like. Sit and goes, I never did that great. Online MTTs, I never did that great. I was too young to play live tournaments and didn't have enough money to go to like EPTs. So like it's kind of running out of options as to how I'm gonna make it in poker. Like all my friends were doing well in tournaments, and I was just like a mid-stakes online tournament guy. And my last resort was kind of trying online cash, and something just started to click where like the strategy and everything just started to make sense to me. And I started playing like 3 tables, then I went to 6 tables. I played a lot that trip. And then the next year, within like a few months into 2008, I was 24 tabling 1-2 on stars. So like that trip was so huge for me to like win that tournament, get some more added to my bankroll after I paid my backer. And yeah, just I would say like winning that didn't really like a lot of people win an event and get like addicted to the rush of tournaments and keep playing tournaments, but I didn't really feel that. Yeah, so
but like was it there? Did you kind of catch the tournament bug at that point when you win that? Were you like, wow, like I won a trophy, or maybe it wasn't a trophy, I won first. It's like on the Hendon mob, people can see it. There's a record. It's fun. This is great. Were you like enamored with tournaments?
No. Like if anything, it was like the opposite. Because it was right at the same time where I was just so fascinated with cash, and all I wanted to do was play cash. But I would go for these series because everyone would go, and it was just like a social thing. I could play live cash there, play online in the room, play some of the events, and yeah, Turning Stone was awesome. I mean, I pretty much went to as many series as I could when I was underage.
Is it? I mean, is that like? I grew up playing soccer, and I remember I played in college, but I remember the peak of fun and just enjoyment of soccer was in kind of high school time and playing for state championships. And I associate this with poker. Like right now, I love poker. I love doing content and stuff, but it's very different. To me, what you're saying, like I remember being around that age too and going to the casino, like playing a cash game. There's nothing more fun. You like, it's meaningful for your bankroll. Like, you probably are a winner, right? Like you can feel it that you're better than most of the players, right? That's just like what you believe. And is true. So like, was this the most fun time actually, like traveling the world, going with your friends, being in, in terms of the poker grind? Like, would you say it's more fun than even now when you're playing for higher stakes and you've won big stuff? Like, was this the actual most fun period for you?
I actually think the most fun part of my career was getting Supernova Elite on Stars. So I did it 3 years in a row, and like the journey and the discipline and the grind for that pop-up screen that comes and it's like very anticlimactic, but just how much time it takes to do it, and then you don't get much time off before it starts over again the next year to do it again.
Yeah.
And it was just so much fun.
Can you break that down? Because this is something that I know that got some bad press from when Stars took this away and the fashion they did it. This is a huge issue. And I think one of the big black eyes that Poker Stars has, because a lot of people did grow up on Stars and they've done a lot of great things in software and this and that. But tell me about what it means to be Supernova Elite, what it actually consists of, how many hours, break it all down for me. What do you get, and how did you get it, and why did you decide to go for it?
Yeah, so I started, once I started playing more tables and learning about the rewards programs on Stars, I realized by like the spring of 2008 that I could get Supernova Elite if I played a ton. And I basically had to play 24 tables of 1-2-6 max for 10 to 12 hours a day with 1 to 2 days off a month to do it. But I just felt like I could do it. And I remember telling my parents, I was like, I'm going to make 250K this year playing 1-2 online. This is my win rate. I think my win rate was like 2 or something, maybe more.
$1, $2.
Yeah. So my win rate was like 2 BB, 24 tabling. And then I was going to make 110K in rake back. And I was going to play like 2 million hands or something. I had, you have to get 1 million VPPs, and I had like 300,000 in May. And so I was like behind. But I just started 24 tabling around that time, and I felt like I could do it. And I mean, it was really hard. Like I hit a huge wall in November, but it was just like such a.
So when did you actually play it? Like late December?
Yeah, like I got it on December 30th, and I think I made 240 that year or something, and rolling into early 09, Tony swapped. So let me go back. You got 2 tournament packages as well as your rewards for Supernova Elite. So that year I took the main event and PCA main, and they give you like hotel and spending money and whatnot. So I played PCA main for the first time. I swapped 5% with Tony, and he chopped for 1.5 million. So that now I went from like starting my career with maybe 30K. Now I have like 300 something thousand, and now I the next year I had played 2, 4, and 3, 6 and got Supernova Elite. It didn't take as many hours because you play in higher stakes. And then 2010 I played 5, 10, and 10, 3, 6 to 10, 20. Once again, like hours went way down because the rate goes up. So yeah, it was like a really good way to build my bankroll and get a lot of hands in. Like I wouldn't say that I actually got like that great at poker doing that, because you're not really like even though you're playing a lot of hands, like you're not actually able to review a lot or actually think about what you're doing, because you're just
24 tables. That is insane. I think I tried it a couple times, like 18 or so at 1-2-6 max, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did some full ring because sometimes you had to back then at the bigger stakes to get 24. So yeah, I did play some full ring. Yeah.
So crazy. And give me your win rate. You think at 6 tabling 1-2 to 24? How does it drop?
Back then, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could have won at like 8 to 10, 6 tabling or something.
Is there a chance then, if you do that math, would it maybe better to play less tables and less and just?
Yeah, probably. But I just wasn't really like thinking that. I was just thinking like I'm guaranteed to make $250,000 this year with like no variance, because like my biggest downswing might have been like 20 variance or something, like nothing. It's just like straight printing 20,000 a month with like no overhead cost and just like really building my bankroll.
And give me a look into what your game constructed of in terms of your learning and studying then versus like now. What you think? You don't have to obviously give me your. I'm very curious, but well, give me kind of how were you studying, or how were you differentiating yourself from the field to be a winner back then?
Yeah, so I was watching. I remember Tony went to Monte Carlo and he let me stay in his apartment for like a couple weeks in his room while he was gone and with his roommate. And I watched Lego poker videos back then every single day. I'd watch a training video and then I would play. I did that for like a couple months. And then at the time, Tony was playing 2-4 and 3-6, and another friend of ours, John Moore, was playing similar stakes. So I'd be able to like talk hands with guys that were the level above me. So that was huge to be able to watch them play and just talk hands with them.
I always thought about like the 24 table, that type of grind. Like, how valuable would it be to have someone behind you, not telling you what to do or how to play, but like, yo, don't fold out here, time out. Like, do you think that would be helpful in any way to like have someone kind of spotting? Because like I just remember playing a lot of tables and timing out and stuff and being so, because that's hard. You must time out a lot with 24 tables.
Literally, I like would never time out.
Wow.
because I've always had bad eyes, so I got laser eye surgery. They're good now, but I would cascade my tables, so it was easy to get around the tables. Like if you were tiling them, it'd be much harder. And then even with cascading, I started having wrist problems pretty early in my career, so I started stacking my tables, so it'd just be one massive table with them all stacked on top of each other, and just like pop up, pop up, pop up, pop up. So even to
like anxiety though, if you got like a big hand and it pops out and you got 24 tables and another one pops out like that, how does that work?
So I would just drag that one off to the side. Like if I was all in or I was in a big spot, I'd drag that off to the side and it would just, everything else would keep popping up, but I would have this one off to the side. Okay. So even to this day, I still do that. Like I'll stack my WSOP tables, I'll stack my stars tables, and then my Borgata or party poker tables have to be tiled. So I still do the same thing today to like save my wrist from moving around this massive screen all day long.
Well, I would love to watch that session. I remember Timothy seeing in the Bahamas when you're like him. I know his 5'10" graph, right? Where he was just
insane.
Like,
he's the reason why I switched off Stars Supernova Elite to play on full tilt, and I was doing really well. I won like 200K the first 6 weeks of 2011 on full tilt before I relapsed. Then I was like playing high and losing a bit. I've lost like 100K in a day playing these two different Germans heads up 25-50, and then Black Friday happened. So it's probably good timing for me that Black Friday happened when I was likely going to be losing all my money playing online on drugs. But like, yeah, his graph on full tilt was like why I switched over to playing there, and that's when I started playing like 25-50. That a 40-80 game. Maybe I played some 50-100 on there, but I played 200-400 on Stars a few times back then. Yeah, that's when I started actually like improving, because I stopped playing so many tables and was just playing high stakes, less tables. I was playing pretty much everyone heads up back then, other than like Sauce, Jungle. But like I played Ansky, I played E. Jones, I think I played Chewy, played three-handed with Sauce. I played three-handed with Sauce and Chewy, played with Nuts and Ho a bunch. Yeah, so I was just like really going for it and trying to like challenge myself really for the first time in my career, because before it was just like print the money. And now it was like, okay, I have the capital. Let's actually try and go improve and get better and play anyone.
Yeah. So, it's crazy. Crazy. It's crazy. And so, all right. So now, you win this tournament, you kind of get your role, you're crushing, you're doing online stuff. Where was, just basically, tell me about this 2012. Like you win Player of the Year, you get 5th in a shorthanded one. You're crushing these shorthanded events, and then win the World Championship. But how big of a increase? Like you were already doing very well. Like or how big a deal was this to win this million here first and then here? And also, you and Tony had some business and swaps and stuff too, right? You guys were doing.
Yeah, so that 4-handed event that I got 5th in, Tony made that final table with me. I mean, that's unofficial final table since I got 5th.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Speak of the devil, this guy can play, huh?
Yeah. So, yeah, me and Timothy were really good friends back then. I mean, we're still good friends, but I don't travel and we don't play in the same game, so we don't talk much anymore. But yeah, that was a sick final table. That guy Brandon Ruby, I thought always played really good too.
Brendan Ruby. It sounds. Oh yeah, that's right. And yeah, he's.
I don't know if he's around anymore.
Yeah, it looks like he's firing 2022 February something. It's over in Australia. But yeah, so you have how big a deal was it though for like what did this do for you? What did it mean to win this tournament? And then I mean it's really right at the end of the summer, right? Both right here, boom boom.
Yeah, so a good story about this. Like I relapsed in 2011. I lost like 400K.
Excuse me, sorry.
I had like a couple 100,000 left to my name, and I was playing in some private games back then in the Maryland area whenever I would be home from Toronto, and Tony started staking me for these private games. I lost like 40,000 around the holidays, and I went back to Toronto and I was like, hey, I don't want to give you any of my online action. Like I still want you, I'm going to get out of makeup. Like if I'm not out of makeup in the next year, I'll start giving you some of my online action. And like you can have my action at the World Series. So we get to Vegas. I only have 7 tournaments on my schedule. I'm going to play cash. I'm like losing a bit. I think I'm like 60K in makeup now, maybe 70. I get into the Paul Pierce game at that house. I think Jeremiah was running that game. Yeah. I win like 50K there. So I'm like almost unstuck. And then these tournament scores start happening. So now I'm up on the stake. And like, I think Tony tells me at some point that, I don't need to like stay on the stake. Cause at this point now I had really recovered financially to have like several 100,000 and not need to be staked for anything. But I told him like, I gave you my word, like you're going to have me for the series. So then the 10K 6max happens, I win. Then he tells me again, you don't have to be staked for the main. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, you just made me all this money. And I remember leaving the front door of our house that summer. I was like, nah, man, we'll just keep it on, but give me 60-40 for the main. So then then I wrote him a fucking huge check.
Wow. I mean, I mean, that's honestly one of the more incredible stories. Cause like, exactly. It's like normally people are staked or backed or piece, like they need it, a necessity. And the fact that like, not only did you honor your thing and do it, you actually won him like 500 or 550.
Yes.
And then even then with the main, you're hot, you're feeling good. You're like, whatever. Cause it would be so ridiculous, or you could have said like, yeah, let's swap 10 or buy 10 or something. Would have been reasonable, or even more than reasonable. But even so I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Tony must send you a Christmas card each year. It keeps, he's one of your best friends though, or is your buddy? Like you've known him forever.
Yeah. I mean, like even the money that I paid him, it's like the money that he made me by increasing my skill over these years was like invaluable. So it's almost like I could have given him more and it wouldn't have been enough in a way, And then and then over the years, like he's made me so much of it back. Like I had 10% when he won the one drop for like 4 million or something. And like different pieces of other 7-figure scores of his. So
but you're hitting home to something. I think, you're talking about loyalty in some respect. It's like a different way of looking at it, I believe, right? That's kind of a strong word to use in this thing. But ultimately, I think that one of the biggest learnings I've learned in poker, and you could say this about golf. I don't know if you golf, and you obviously tell a lot about someone, how they handle themselves, winning, losing, and otherwise. But I think in general, it's like poker has so much ego, and there's so many people that I think have a hard time to calibrate. I like saying to calibrate because it's tricky, right? Like you just said it, you kind of summed it up. There's not a formula, there's not an exact number, but you even said, even with giving him this or that, like you believe he's giving you so much value and you just fundamentally want to do that. Cause like there's a lot of this too in games, right? There's a lot of private games. There's a lot of like spots where you can do nice things for people, give them the best of it, or give them good opportunities or not, or people easily forget, like you could just like justify, like there's a lot of selfishness, a lot of greed, and a lot of things that people generally like. There's 3 sides to every story. I really believe that, right? There's your side, there's their side, and then there's like, the real thing. And it's really hard sometimes to sort of to put a number or a degree, right? Especially when you're lending or loaning or someone does something for you and maybe like, you know what I'm saying? I think you're really touching close to it. I think this is super hard. And so many people, I think, feel some type of way. And it's hard to get in the other person's mind even, right? Like, obviously this is a good version of that, right? This is like, you're talking about abundance and like whatever, but it's also like when people owe money or do this, and poker's got a lot of that. There's a lot of sort of like difficult situations, or people that maybe forget things, or people did something nice, or they owed some money and then they have a score and they don't honor things. And I don't know. I see a lot of that. So it's good to hear when there's like feel good stories.
I mean, by no means have I handled these situations well in my career, because I definitely I was in a lot of those situations like early in my career with starting to get banned from public or private games, and then not being able to play in these private casino games, and like having someone stiff me for a large number in a private game, and then like calling them out publicly and doing things that like I definitely would approach them much differently now in my mid-30s than I would in my early 20s. And like dropping the ego and realizing that it's just part of that scene. And yeah, like I think we both understand from playing a lot of private games that like you don't always have to be getting the best of it. But like the counter to that is that I play online cash in like an extremely cutthroat environment. And like if I'm not cutthroat when everyone else is being cutthroat, I'm just giving up too much. So like this is just the way online cash has been for several years now, and I'm like I'm not proud of it. You know, like should everyone snaps it out when like the bad player gets stacked? No. Should we play a few hands and see if he's going to reload? Yeah, but no one does. And like there's a lot of things that are like very predatory in the online cash games, but like you put me in a live private game, like I don't give a shit. I'll put the straddle on, I'll put the restraddle on, I'll flip you for 5,000, like whatever you want, you know. I'm not trying to like press every edge. Like you're inviting me to play, I'm going to give you action, you know. And I feel like a lot of the like newer school guys might not really understand that. Actually, I was playing live last night for the first time in a while, and I was playing PLO, and like half the table was straddling 100. So like it's not a private game. I don't have to straddle to 100, but like the guys straddling to 100 are the ones giving action, and like I'm not playing that loose, but at least I can do is just put the 100 on and like show that I'm like kind of give the illusion that I'm giving action by putting the 100 on, and then eventually the game just turned into 51 anyways. But like stuff like that, I see a lot of these guys in these casino games are just like never gonna put it on, you know.
Yeah, I think there's also a lack of emotional intelligence in a lot of areas, and things that are just sort of like, it's like exactly, you got to be.
Or like the guy wants to see my hand. Sure, look at my fucking hand. Like I don't give a shit, you know. Look at my cards, no problem. Yeah.
You gotta give a little bit of that for sure. And tell me about the main event where I believe you were down to 1 or 2 big blinds at some point. Is that true?
Yeah, I played this huge pot with 6 cents. I don't Fabrizio Gonzalez, I think is his name. He was like the most insane player ever back then, and we got like 5 bets in on the flop when I flopped middle pair nut flush draw versus his set, and I bricked for like I think it was like a 4 million chip pot at 1020K, and I had 55,000 left after that hand at 10K 20K. Wow. And then the spin was on, man. I won like 8s versus king jack, then I won king jack versus 8s, then I got a reshove, I got a like 3-bet shove through, then I got a
left then
140.
Oh jeez.
Then I got a 4-bet shove through. So like the 3-bet shove and the 4-bet shove, getting those through like without having to win all in at that point in the tournament was like chipping up so much, and then all of a sudden I had $1 million.
What was the 4-bet hand? Do you remember?
I wasn't neither one of those spots I was like bluffing or anything. But then I had back over $1 million. And I remember looking at like the point structure for player of the year, because I was trying to like stall. There was a point jump at 134, I think. And I wanted to get the points because I knew I was going to be in the running, and they still had World Series Europe left. But to be honest with you, I wasn't really that devastated because like I just won the tournament before, and now I'm on day 6 of the main, and like what I'm going to complain because I lost this, like, you know, who cares? So it was like a perfect mindset to have, right? And like even when I started running it back up, I never really thought that I was gonna like keep spin. I don't know, dude. I was in such a like blur because I won the tournament right before, so I was on like no sleep for like 2 weeks because I had like a day off before the main, and then you have like those couple days in between days 1, 2, and 3, and then you just play straight through 3 through 7.
I mean, the fact to go bracelet, winning the main, I mean, that can't be, I'm sure that'll never, I mean, it's almost impossible, right? To win the tournament, the one you play right before bracelet and then win the main. Like, I'm sure it's never happened, right? It can't.
Yeah, hopefully, maybe I can hold on to that one for a while.
I don't think, I mean, that's too much. It's really insane.
I don't think it'll ever be broken. So it was 4 days for the 6 max. And then it was technically 9 days for the main because you play the final table in 2 days. So I went 13 days of playing tournament poker without getting knocked out, which is like my ultimate claim to fame.
That is absolutely insane. So, and tell me though, when you actually won it, what did that feel like? And how was the? I think actually in the 10K, you won the first or second hand back on day 4. It never happened before as well.
Yeah, it was one of the first hands. Like we were 30 big blinds deep, and I was playing Keith Lear. I'm sure you know him. I've played with him, and he's like really aggressive. And he established early on that he was just going to be using massive sizes and like ramp up the variance. So like the night before when we were playing heads up a bit, he was just like ripping it for 30 big blinds over my my button open and stuff. So I kind of went into that 4th day knowing that I would be looking to play crazy as well. Maybe that wasn't like the right strategy, but yeah, he 3-bet me and I 4-bet shoved king 9 suited and beat ace jack. And at the time I didn't know him and he wanted to chop, and I was like, I don't know this guy, and they don't facilitate deals, and like we're playing for 400 some thousand difference, and like of course I want to chop, but like I don't know anything about this guy,
right?
So
it's tough.
It was a huge match. Yeah,
sick. That's very sick. And the final table, anything stand out from this the main event one? I mean, you get heads up. That's a real big heads up versus a combo player. I mean, I mentioned Jake Balsinger. He actually knocked me out ace 3 to ace deuce. It's my deepest run in the main. Forget like 220 or something. So not like tasting it, but he was relatively an amateur, I think, right? Relative like new.
Yeah, he was 21. Yeah,
21. Yeah. So some other, Jeremy Osmond's world class. This guy Rob Salabru. This guy actually Steve G. He won a bracelet as well before. So I mean, there's a bit of play. Bit of Russell Thomas, competent pro. Like how did you feel at the final table, and what was that like to get it done? What was sort of like, where were you stacked, and how did it go?
I mean, I had a bad C draw in a sense that Sylvia was on my left with chip lead, but I had direct position on Jeremy, who I thought at the time was the best player left. Like I always considered him better than me. He's just like world class, and I'm glad that he's been doing so well these days and getting like some spotlight. But yeah, so he was on my direct right and was shorter. And then Russell Thomas I've always thought that he was a good player, but I think he hadn't been playing full time like leading up to the main. He had been working a job and had been like getting back into poker full time. So he wasn't as like sharp at the time. So that was like good timing for me. Not that I thought he was like a weak spot at the table by any means, but like in terms of like the top players at the table, maybe he was 3rd or 4th. But I didn't feel like he was like on Jeremy's level, right? And then yeah, I mean overall I felt like it was a pretty good spot for me, and like the stacks were deep, so like really my only preparation for the final table was playing like really long sessions on purpose. Like I would play 16-hour sessions live to just prepare for the likelihood that we could be playing like a really long final table for this main. And that's like literally exactly what happened. The first day we only played 5 hours to get to 3-handed, and then we played 3-handed for 12 hours. Yeah, so it was good practice. Yeah,
it's pretty sick. And what is okay? So you win that, and then tell me about like after how I mean, this is a pretty incredible week period here, 2-week period for you. What do you do after this? Do you go back east? Do you kind of run around? Are you going to?
I had like contractual obligations to go to Jacksonville for my sponsorship with them, regardless of how I did. So I had to be there 5 days after the main, and they had set up a 100 or 200 game with Ron, the guy who built the place.
Yeah.
Kenny Tran was in that game, and yeah, it was a fun game. So like I had already wired 100K there like ahead of time to go play, maybe 200K, and so I ended up going. I had to shoot a lot of footage for Ivy Poker right after, which was annoying, and then that company didn't work out, but they had me filming so much for like a day or two, and then I went to Miami for 2 or 3 days. Then I flew up to Jacksonville, and then I went to see my now wife, who was in grad school in Syracuse. So like I didn't make it home for a couple weeks, and like another good story around that time is that I chopped with Jesse heads up. I got 7.2 and he got 6.6. So I had to send him like 1.1 million or something, or 1.3 something. I forget. It was over $1 million. And I just had my parents write a check and send it in the normal mail like a fucking idiot. And my parents' mail got stolen. And the only reason they know that is because their credit card bills didn't get paid. And then something else that they were sending just never showed up as well. So Jesse was texting me like, hey, I have like these swaps to pay out and I'm waiting for this money to come. And I'm like, oh, it's in the mail. So like what's going through his mind at this time where like he's waiting on this huge payment that's just not coming. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on. So eventually I had to go to the branch and like set up a new account, move all my funds over, and then we ended up wiring it, which is what we should have done in the first place.
Why did so I didn't understand what happened to what happened to your parents' mail? Someone
stole the mail out of the mailbox.
Just randomly?
I mean, I'm sure it was like on purpose.
No, I know, but it's like kind of crazy that they like that happened to be when that check, like it's like almost you'd have to know, right? Yeah, like it was going out in that.
I got a new bank account when that happened, and then someone stole my signature and forged a check of mine like a few months later, probably from a home game. And I had to get a new account again. So that was like no issues since then, but it was kind of crazy.
Give me a BTC price prediction for January 2023 and Ethereum.
And hopefully a lot, man.
Yes, a lot. That would be good, I think, for everyone, for poker, for the community. But give me a guess, because I like to ask people just like, without going ttoo deep into the crypto rabbit hole, NFTs.
No, I love the coins, man. I love the coins. I don't have any NFTs. I mean, I have some NBA Top Shot and stuff, but like I love the coins, love DeFi, love getting in there. But,
throw me a price. Give me a guess. I might have a bonus. Maybe you get a Flow Show hat if you hit the price right on the nose for 2023. Just give me a guess. It could be. It doesn't matter. I just want to know where you're at, where your head's at.
I mean, the general consensus that I've heard from like sharp guys in chats is that we just dropped between 30 and 60K this year, but like no one really knows, right? Like, so maybe. I mean, I think rates are going up, regardless of this war. They just kind of have to.
Yeah.
So I'm not really that bullish in the short term, but I mean, I'm just a long-term holder with like pretty high conviction. It's the biggest bet in my portfolio in terms of like single asset. Like I don't have like an insane exposure to crypto like some of these other guys do, but it's my single biggest bet in terms of one specific asset.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll say 54,000.
Okay, fair enough. And Ethereum, you feel in the same sort of like bin where it sort of mirrors it, like percentage wise, or just like what about Ethereum price?
So like I don't know like the tech enough to really like speak about what I think about it personally, but I do think that it's tough to imagine it getting adopted on a like institutional level, because I think it'll be classified as a security. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition in the smart contract space. So it's like, my thesis has always just been that there's only one Bitcoin and there will only be one Bitcoin. Like I don't think there's, at least not in the next like 10 to 20 years, I don't think there's going to be anything competing to replace Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And there's all this tech going after smart contract adoption. So, I mean, Ethereum is my second biggest holding. It's not like I'm rooting against it, but I just have like more conviction in Bitcoin. I'm more of like a Bitcoin maxi. So
you saw this Satoshi Nakamoto thing from Musk.
yeah,
It's pretty
yeah.
cool. I just like was pulling that up. I mean, it's
Wait, are you're more of an ETH guy? I feel like you are.
no, I'm BTC. I like BTC.
Okay.
I'm with that. And but I like, yeah, I think Ethereum's interesting too, and more utility. But it's exactly, I'm in some chats, I'm in some stuff, I follow along. I'm not in there doing deep dive work or
Yeah.
you know, I just I follow the smartest guys I know and
Yep.
kind of keep my head.
Oh, your boy Rast is like all in too. Yeah.
He's sharp. He likes his stuff. He knows what's going on. And no, I think I whatever. I'm bullish. I'm bullish on it in general. All right. I want to ask before we get out of here, because this is it's always exciting to catch up. This really has been a treat. I want to know about this sort of addiction cycle stuff. Like, you went through stuff that you were involved with some drugs and that. How are you able to cold turkey kind of stuff? And I believe in December of 21, you celebrated 10 years sober. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like I hadn't touched any drugs my whole life until the summer before college. And then I ended up smoking weed basically every single day leading up to my freshman year at Maryland. And then that's when I tried Coke for the first time. And then it all just unraveled. And I was doing a bunch of drugs, playing poker, skipping class, grades plummeting. So
and what got you to try that for the first time? Is it just around, you had some people you knew that did it? Like what like decided, and did you really in your head when you did it, were you like, oh, like I'm sure that I could just do this once in a while, and it actually became addicting? Or like how did that process?
Yeah, so the first time I did Coke, I didn't do it a second time for like 4 months. And yeah, I didn't really like think too much of it. And then the second time I did it, I was just like insanely hooked. I remember feeling like, wow, this is awesome.
You know, I've never tried cocaine in my life, not one time. And it was around at my university out in South Carolina. It was definitely around. And I actually would, from streaming a lot on Twitch, people would make jokes. Like, I think Joey Ingram would kind of like do something, and we're friendly, of course, but he would make jokes like they were saying I'm like the hype guy and always whatever. I think it's a compliment, but I've never tried it because I feel like I am a high energy person. I think it would like, I'm sure, you know, there's a reason why some people do it, right? It's like there is something there, but like it's just like a bad habit. So I've personally never tried. Look, I've gone to Burning Man. You know, I've had some fun. I'm not saying I'm a saint by any means, but I've never actually tried that, and I do feel like that is probably one of the more addicting ones. That would just be, you know, could just not good to do, right? That's not something you'd recommend.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, coming off of it, as hard as it is, the fact that there's no physical withdrawal makes it much easier to get off of, because later in my drug use, I ended up getting hooked on pills really bad, and like opioid withdrawal is the fucking worst thing ever. Like the worst depression I've ever had, along with the worst physical pain and suffering for like 3-4 days and having it linger for 7 or 8 days. I mean, awful. And I only used pills for like 6 months. So like I can't even imagine like long-term users how much worse it could be. But yeah, basically 05, 06, first half of 07, on and off drugs, in and out of rehabs. Not I didn't go to any like stay away rehabs, but just in and out of being clean. And then I eventually got clean for 3.5 years and relapsed the beginning of 2011 for 10 months. And yeah, my life was like falling apart. Like I was like a huge favorite to overdose at some point. I was just losing my mind.
And how did you, what was the moment, or when did you decide you're just like, I like to snap out of it? Because those are, I mean, that's heavy stuff, right? This isn't like you just, you know, it's not necessarily as simple as, oh, I'm just going to stop today. And you probably say that during that period for a lot of days. Like what actually caused the change?
So I mean, I've told the story a bunch before, but we were in Vegas for 5 Diamond. I was staying with Christian and Tony, and like I think Christian they walked in the room, and I was like passed out on the bed with like my head in my chest, like nodded out. And then I think Christian caught me using that trip or something, and just really like ripped into me. And I guess I just kind of needed someone to call me out, or maybe I wanted someone to
Well, that's a great crew. Christian, Tony. I mean, Christian, I've known him for forever as well.
Yeah,
He's
and then he's like the most straight edge guy ever too. So like, and it's like embarrassing relapsing in front of your closest friends that you've been spending all this time with. Because I met those guys right when I got sober, so they had never seen any side of this from me. As far as they knew, like I didn't do anything, and I was hiding it and stuff. So like it was perfect timing, and I mean poker was going terrible too. Everything was just awful. So I mean I really just had no choice unless I wanted to be a full-time junkie. Yeah.
And tell me about your, you now are married, you have 2 kids. What has that been? How impactful, and how have you been able to kind of balance that with playing poker and working that into a schedule with the freedom? Because I think that's one of the things poker players, it's so great to have freedom, but at the same time, it's easy to fall into some kind of bad habits with timing, scheduling, or just also like the biggest benefit you have is that, and then some people don't utilize that. How are you able to capitalize and make your life where it works with the family?
Sure, yeah. So I got on a pretty strict schedule right before we had kids, where I was playing 5.5 days a week, the same days every week, the same amount of hours, and then I went to 5 days, and now for the past almost year, I've been playing 4 days a week, and everything's been scheduled out ahead of time. So these are days I play. These are my off days. This is what I do on my off days. This is when I hang out with the kids. But I around when the China apps started becoming popular, I was waking up at like 5 a.m. to play those, and I started realizing that like I just like waking up really early. I mean, at the time, I was probably waking up normally at 8 or 9, anyways. So waking up at 5, I mean, was a big adjustment.
It's
but
still that's a big adjustment, and even so, like night. So then, what time would you go to bed?
Well, back then I would go to bed at like 9:30 or 10, and I would almost always nap back then. Now I can run on less sleep, but yeah, now I mean I play from most of my hours are between like 6 a.m. and noon, so I still play most of my hours in the morning, and if I need to take a nap because I didn't sleep well or not enough, I've always been good at being able to do that. So now I go to bed at like 9 or 9:30.
Wow.
I'm usually up between 5:30 and 6:30.
That's great. Waking up early is definitely on my list. Sometimes not possible if you play kind of late games or just in general. Also, I just feel like a night owl more in general. It's like I get stuff done, and it's kind of.
I was the same way too. Like I didn't wake up before 2 or 3 p.m. for like the first 10 years I played poker. But then I just when me and my wife started dating, it's like I just felt like I was never going to see her with that schedule. And actually, Black Friday started making me wake up earlier because all the games were on like Euro time zone. So when I lived in Toronto, games kind of just died off by like 6 or 7 p.m. So I would start waking up I would set an alarm to wake up at 11, and it was like such pain to wake up at 11 a.m. But that's when it was late afternoon over there.
For sure. Very, very interesting. And I want to ask you about Macau. I think you spent some time there. How many trips have you made over there?
Yeah, I made 3 trips. The first one I made like 4 months after the main. I went for Chinese New Year 2013 with Tony, and the games were just absolutely insane, like just sick as shit ever. I immediately booked a trip back before I even had left. Went back 3 months later. Games okay, not so great. The plan was to spend the first half of the World Series in Macau while everyone was hopefully in Vegas. A lot of people had that same strategy, unfortunately, but we got lucky that we were there for the best tournament ever that I got to play. It was a 1 million Hong Kong rebuy add-on with like junket guys that were getting free rolled in the event.
What year was this?
2013. Nicholas Heinecker won for like 5 million.
Yeah,
and Ike got second. I didn't cash, but like we took such a huge shot. Like I was in for 2 million Hong Kong, and Tony was in for 3 million Hong Kong, and we took like 86% of the action, or somewhere in the high 80s, and it was like a turbo too. So it was just such a sick degenerate shot take for us. But we swapped with a lot of guys, and neither one of us cashed, and we ended up still making like 100K US. And Tony bubbled in a flip, so like really we could have just absolutely destroyed the spot even if you min cashed, because we had like 6 guys at the final table or something. It was this is like kind of the sad part about these high stakes tournaments, but like that's the reality of what's going on in these things. Maybe not so much anymore, but back then it was.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And Macau, what are your overall takeaways from there as a place?
I mean, it was awesome, but at the same time, it's like there's nothing to do other than play poker. And for me, it was really toxic because I would play online there too, since I couldn't play in the States. So I'd go play 6, 8, 10, 12 hours at the Win, and then I'd go up to my room and play high stakes online. And I was just playing like way too much. So maybe the first week or two, I'd be playing pretty well, but by the end of being there for 3 weeks, I'm just not playing well, making huge mistakes and massive pots, and like my results there weren't very good. Like I don't think I ever really was like responsible enough to take breaks and like get enough sleep and get a workout in and eat good and stuff. Like back then, I just was like play, you know. And you have to be a little more disciplined when you're playing at stakes like that. And you know, if you make no limit, it's an unforgiving game. If you make a mistake for 6 figures on the river, like yeah, so it'll make or break your whole trip. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And what about sports? Are you a competitive person? I know you love to compete. Did you grow up playing sports?
Yeah, I ran cross country in high school, and then I played baseball my whole life. So I played on the club baseball team at Maryland. Like I probably could have played D3, but my breakout season was my senior year, where it's a spring sport. So I was already accepted to Maryland, and my junior season I hit like 300, and you got to hit 400 plus in high school to get looked at. So my senior year I hit 430, and was first team all county and stuff, but I had no shot at being like D1 player or anything. But I love baseball. My brother played D1. He probably would have gotten drafted, but he had Tommy John surgery and never recovered from it. So come from a baseball family. My dad's coached for like 30 plus years.
Wow. And how big a Maryland Terrapins fan are you?
I mean, big. I mean, not. I mean, this year was the worst year we've had in 30 years, the basketball team. But yeah, I've huge fan. Grew up going to all the games. My parents still have season tickets. I don't get to go to many games because I don't live there. But the last game I went to actually was like days before COVID shut down the world, and I remember thinking at the game, we shouldn't be here right now, because I'm like living in the New York City area where it was already starting to be a thing up here. And I went home that weekend. It was a Sunday versus Michigan, and like I think that Wednesday is when like everything started to shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, I remember reading COVID stuff on my phone, sitting there with like 17,000 people around and thinking like, this shouldn't be happening. Yeah.
Wow. Was there like an energy there though that kind of people knew it was sort of weird, or was this like
No, because really it was just like a New York thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was in Seattle and stuff too, but it just started popping up in New York and no one really knew what was going on. But everyone in my area up here was starting to like talk about it and take it very seriously. And other parts of the country, it hadn't really like gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's it's crazy. Honestly, the last 2 years do feel like a blur. It's really wild how it's just kind of like everything's happening, and you know, it's been different. And how about you? How has your COVID experience been with being like because I guess I would think it's similar in the respect for me is like I was at, you know, being not traveling as much or being just like there's no, it's not like FOMO, right? You're not like worried, oh, I'm missing this or people are doing this or this is going on. It's like, all right, you have your kids or your child, right? Whoever around the same age, you get to maybe enjoy more and be focused. Did you feel like you got more focus, more things done, and were able to spend some more time at home? Was it actually for you?
Yeah, I mean, for it was kind of, well, I don't think for anyone it was good timing,
Right.
but I just started to really tone down how much I was playing, like right before COVID, and then that kind of changed because the action was just so insane that I felt like I needed to be playing more. So it was like a bit much from that sense, but I mean, I feel like I'm built for lockdown, right? Like if you play online poker, you're just like a hermit.
Right.
I've never been someone that needs like a ton of socialization, and like personally socializing like drains my energy. So I'm very happy just being by myself, and like I like to go do things, but in terms of like output for work, like the worst thing I can do is go hang out the night before like a work day. It's just, yeah, it just like my energy the next day is so off.
Yeah. I'm completely with you. What about daily fantasy? Any sports stuff? What are your thoughts on DFS? Do you have any? Do you do that stuff? Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy sports betting a bit, or
So I don't do DFS, but I got into sports betting a bit in like 18 and 19 because all the books started opening here. And then I was betting a lot during the bubble, the NBA bubble. But I was just doing prop bets, which is like the easiest thing to beat, with like the Sims from the daily fantasy sites and line shopping and paying for services that show all the lines across all the books. And you got like 20 books here. So I was like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm able, like DraftKings was letting me get down like 5 to 10K a night in NBA prop bets. And we thought we had like a 5% edge or so at the time. Turns out it's probably higher than that. And yeah, I mean, then like being naive to that industry, I was shut down in like a month. So I started betting less across different books, but then I was still getting shut down. So now I'm shut down in like half the books and just kind of gave up on it. Like I do some like odds boosts, random stuff, but yeah, nothing. I thought I was going to start making it like part of my grind, but it's a lot of fucking work. They're always shutting you down. It's hard to get down good size. Got to have a lot of accounts. You always have to get new accounts. So like a lot of respect for the guys that do that, but not for me.
it is its own world, right? That's its own. It's not something you really want to do as a hobby. It's you kind of got to be ingrained in it, and then there's
it's too consuming for me too. It's just like crypto is 24/7, the sports world is 24/7. Like you're always checking lines. You always have to be on your phone or at the computer for injury updates and like sniping these opportunities of like this guy scratched 45 minutes before the game and like the lines move for the game line, but like the props haven't moved. So you're getting down across all these different players that are off. And like, yeah, it's 24/7, man. I have friends that do it every single day. And like, it's like, I don't know how they do it. It's sick.
And any business aspirations in terms of, investments or things or hobbies that you really enjoy? Like what are some things that you would, if you weren't doing poker or maybe even on the side that you're looking at doing? Is there any industries or genres that you're fascinated with?
No, I mean, I had a real estate company that I started after I won the main in 2013, and we bought a bunch of properties in Maryland, just 2-bedroom condos in different parts of the suburbs of Maryland. But my partner bought me out last year, so I had zero exposure to real estate. And now I just bought a place, actually, just outside of Charlotte in South Carolina, part of a building last year. But yeah, most of my investments are just passive index funds, crypto. Yeah, nothing too interesting. I mean, I definitely am trying to get more exposure to like more volatile assets as like portfolio grows. I think you can start taking more shots at stuff. But I don't have any like aspirations of starting my own company or working for a company.
You love poker. You love your freedom. You love the game, and you're enjoying your setup. It sounds like, because as you know, like those things takes a lot of time, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, and I was signed by WSOP for a year, and I realized pretty quickly that like I mean, sure, if you're gonna pay me enough money, I'll represent your brand, but like I don't want to have a boss at all. So like I just don't want to. I just want to do my own thing and be left alone. And like, yeah, if I could make more money being like this super famous poker player, great. But it's not really for me, So I realized that quickly after winning. Like, I never got into poker to have like a huge platform or anything, and then it's just like given to you. So I'm very appreciative of it now. Like at first I hated it, yeah, I guess I'm just like more accepting of it now, and that's why I kind of feel like ready to start playing more at the series and trying to get out there more. Because even like this interview, like I turned down so many interviews over the last 5 or 6 years. Not that I get asked for interviews that often anymore, but like really just wanted to be left alone. But I feel like COVID has sped it up where I'm ready to put my face out there more.
And what are your overall? I'll leave on this one. What are your thoughts about content in poker? And have you considered streaming on Twitch or doing YouTube or anything? Is it something that interests you at all, or just?
So I was one of the first guys to stream on Twitch because I was friends with Scott Ball back then. It was 2014. I streamed like 10 sessions.
Okay.
And really, it was just Jay Carver and Jamie Staples had just started, and there was like no one in the space. And I got put on the front page of Twitch, and I got like 2,000 viewers and like a ton of unique views or whatever for like the hour that I was playing. And yeah, I just realized that like I was playing cash, and you have to play tournaments if you're going to stream. People just don't really care. Like they want to follow the story, right? Like, so once I realized that, I thought it wasn't for me. I did have a lot of fun with it though. Like I think I could be a really good streamer. My friends know that watch me play online, think that I could do a good job streaming. But yeah, it's not for me. And content wise, I would like love to do a vlog at the series, and maybe that's something I do 5-10 years from now or something, where I just don't care about punting off this capital to do a vlog that gives me nothing but like pleasure, because I no sponsorship and no like aspirations to be sponsored.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've watched every Negroni vlog at the series. I watched your vlogs at the series and stuff. Like I consume that stuff, and it would be really cool to
yeah, I do think it is a net positive for the industry. I think these things, like there's a lot of people doing these things that I think it does bring people in as a whole. Like, there's just, a particular streamer or YouTuber can really hit home to someone, right?
Yeah.
It does bring people. And I have seen that from just examples I know of other people, like where I hear people talk about, oh, this guy, this person I watch, or this is why I'm here. I've seen it many times. But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great that, I think it's great that you're going to be back out there and firing. And I mean, you definitely, if you call one of the good guys in poker, I think that anyone who knows you or cross paths knows that you're a very genuine person and, a great ambassador. You're definitely one of the guys people are happy that won the main event, right? I'd say it's not always the case, right? There's a mixed bucket of that. Of course, some luck in who wins. And 2012, a great year, and great that you got to handle that and have that, man. I mean, that's just like, honestly, I don't think you'd ever wipe a smile. Like winning the bracelet's great, but winning the main event, like it's kind of, you really should just have a perma smile. Where do you keep your bracelet?
So it's just in a safe back in Maryland. I've seen it like 3 times lifetime. And then my dad has my other bracelet. He used to wear it all the time, but he doesn't wear that much anymore. I also haven't seen that one in a while either.
What do your parents think of poker? And like, was there a turning point when they like kind of like, I mean, obviously with 2012, but at what point were they concerned, or just always like, go for it, you're fine, good luck?
So my mom was always pretty supportive from the beginning, and like all of my bank records were getting sent there when I was living with other people. I wasn't moving my address around at the time, so like they could see that I was doing well. But I also kept a ton of money online, so I don't think they knew exactly how well I was doing. Another reason why they couldn't see how much I was losing when I was relapsing, because I had so much money online. But yeah, it's a huge turning point for my dad was definitely when I won bracelet and won the main. Like it's just kind of, I think, clicked for him more.
Yeah, I'd say that it's hard to ignore that at that point. That's pretty surreal.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I again, it's been a pleasure. It's great to catch up. I hope we get to see each other maybe in Vegas, if not before. If you're ever down in Florida, let me know. And I think yeah, man, that Maryland, some good times lived there in the same period, and we always had some very good mutual friends, and it's been fun. I think we're both could say the same about poker. It's been kind.
Yeah, I feel like you love poker just as much as me, man.
I do love it. I do. I wish I wish I played a bit more than I am currently. I would like to play more, and I'm this period of time where it's a bit confusing. Like you're lucky in New Jersey that you can play on regulated nice sites, and that's part of the problem. Like just in general, I have to travel if I'm playing tournaments online on sites and trying to figure out some stuff. But I got some stuff in the pipeline, and I'm definitely gonna be active in content. And What about Triton? Would you have any thoughts on playing some of those tools?
No, I don't think you'll see me in these super high rollers ever again.
Short deck? No short deck?
No. You might catch me on like this really soft 25K somewhere, but like 10Ks and below for old Papa over here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Those, you start getting up there, you realize, once in a while, exactly. I think that's about right. If there's a great 25, it's fun, but you realize, trust me, you're in a different level. But I personally, battling with some of the names we've been mentioning throughout the podcast, it's not like fist pumping to go put 50 or 100 down or have sell action and be battling with these guys they're really on another level. The top points.
They're so good. Yeah, I love watching. I watch like all the Poker Go streams. I love watching them play. But I have no intention of playing with them.
For sure. Well, listen, Greg, it's been a pleasure. Great to catch up, man. Wish you all the best, your family the best, and Vegas, man. Hopefully you get another bracelet. I hope to join you on that category as well, and I'm sure we'll be battling and playing, and hopefully having a catch up in person in the near future.
Yeah, I'll try to sneak in behind you on your vlog at the series.
I love it. Great, man. Thank you so much. All right, guys, that was Greg Merson. That's podcast number 170. It's in the books, the 2012 WSOP main event champion, also player of the year that year, and he won the 10K 6 max. Definitely has a lot of accolades we could keep talking about. But again, you can check him on socials. I'll show you over here. We got his Instagram, which I believe he said he doesn't do too much posting on, but you can get some picture of Merson, and there is him. GM. Greg, what a nice initials you have in crypto.
Yeah.
GM. I mean, of course, that's your thing there. So that's beautiful, and wish you the best, and we'll be following along on the socials and seeing you at some final tables soon.
Sweet, man. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.